if I was just an athlete, if I was just an NFL player, they killed my career and I would have ceased to exist.
That's what we're going to discover today, and I'm going to bring to the stage my new friend, Ovie Mughelli. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
My pleasure. We came across each other's path. We were speaking together at a men's event in Atlanta, Georgia. I got to hear him talk. He got to hear me talk. We did some panels together. And most importantly, since then, we've gotten to know each other on a series of phone calls and deepened our relationship to a place where we are now partnered up on the business side for something that we'll talk about at the end of the show. But, you know, as I led into this, Ovie, and as I was doing my research on you, I don't get surprised that often. You know, I don't get that surprised because you and I have had, you know, a few conversations. You know, but I don't get surprised that much. First off, you have a deep relationship to where I live, which is Charleston, South Carolina. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I love Charleston, and I was tired of Charleston at first because I've been there since fourth grade, and we moved there after Hurricane Hugo, and I was just like, it's just Charleston, and it's so small, and I want to be in the big city, and I didn't really appreciate it. It was always quaint. It was always, clean, and people were always so nice. I went to college and eventually ended up playing pro ball. I realized that not everyone's that nice. And I appreciate the, people holding doors and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. But my father's a doctor in Charleston. My sister, went to the medical school in Charleston, MUSC, and it's home for me. I go back a lot to Charleston to see my parents, and every time I go back, they're building some new company, building whatever. And when I smell the water, smell the ocean, go across that bridge, I'm like, it's home. So gotta love Charleston.
Gotta love Charleston. The other thing that surprised me, and again, as I opened the show, it was surprising to me how aligned how you have decided to execute your life is in perfect alignment with what we tell business owners all the time, which is you've got to build to exit, right? Yeah. And there's some things that when we say build to exit, everybody's like, well, I don't know if I can exit. You know, you didn't know if you could play in the NFL.
No,
right? I don't know if I'm going to be able to exit. I don't know, if I'm going to get paid that much, right? There's all of these unknowns. But at the end of the day, our principle that we operate by here is that everybody exits, right? Nobody's going to stay in the NFL forever, right?
Correct.
There's an end game that needs to be paid attention to. Same thing with people's businesses. And so one of the things that I found fascinating as I was doing some research on you is that you called being in the NFL a hobby, which I was shocked. I was like, I got to dig into this a little bit deeper. Right. And you go, it's a hobby. And then I started thinking, well, if it's a hobby, you're a top level, like world-class athlete. What else were you thinking you were going to do? Come to find out you were at Wake Forest on a pre-med sort of track.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
talk to us a little bit about that.
1000% right. And people think that I just say that because it sounds good. I'm like, no, like you don't know my parents. If you think I'm just telling you that I was a pre-med track, a pre-med concentration just for fun, just for giggles. No, my dad is a big time OBGYN. My sister was on the pre-med track and actually finished. Like I mentioned, she went to MUSC in Charleston. She is a big time psychiatrist in Columbus, Georgia. And I, like all four of my father's kids, all four of us kids and siblings, we were all pre-med because that was a requirement of the African family that I came from. It was doctor, lawyer, engineer, but really doctor, or doctor. What kind of doctor do you want to be? So I took organic chemistry and cell biology and biomechanics, and I took anatomy in the basement of the Wake Forest gym and would have to, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, be late to practice because the anatomy class ran over. My very strong, proud, serious Nigerian parents told our coach, Jim Caldwell, he is a student athlete. He's not an athlete student. You told us school comes first. If he has to be late, he will be late. And they're like, yes, Miss Mughelli. Yes, ma'am. So I really wanted to be a doctor like my dad and was very surprised and reluctant, so much so that my sister gave me her old MCAT prep books, and I was prepping for the MCAT for 2 months while also training for the NFL Combine and my pro date and the and some of the other events we had. I just didn't believe, even though I was ranked pretty highly, I just didn't believe that I'd be that 1% that would actually have a chance to make it.
I love that. It's amazing. And, and you didn't build your foundation. Like I've heard this term thrown around, like you make your living on your jersey. Right. And you didn't do that. Right.
Yeah.
You didn't do that. And talk a little bit about, because again, here's how it kind of aligns with business owners is they get into their business. And I have a saying, I'm not my business is not me. Right. In your parlance, it was, I am not the NFL. The NFL is not me. You had pre-thoughts. You had, while you were playing, you had strategies while you were playing to be one of the highest paid fullback in the history of the league, and on, and to what you do now. Right. So talk about a little bit of that mindset. Where does that mindset come from that you don't let things become your identity because your identity is already strong in and of itself?
And it's a mindset that came from my parents, just because my parents have the immigrant story where they came from Nigeria. My mom came first, and my dad came, I believe, and they were told by everyone what they could do, what they couldn't do, what professions they'd be good at. And so while my dad was in med school, he was a security guard. He worked at Burger King. He always wanted to buy a Burger King franchise. I'm like, no, we're good. But he worked at Burger King. He did anything and everything he could do in order to pay for his school. And he was like, it's a means to an end, son. Like they wanted to say, oh, you can become manager at Burger King. You can do that. Like, that's not what I wanted to do. Like, oh, you can, become the next level of the security. I was like, I wanted to be a doctor, but I knew that I'm never going to be just a doctor. Like, my dad did speaking. My dad worked in real estate. My dad had, big ideas to where it was about him, not any profession he did, not anything that one thing that he did. It was him. He was the brand. Like, he was the product. And for me, I knew that so many NFL players got stuck being just an NFL player, which is dangerous, because at some point, even if you're Tom Brady, you're going to have to not be an NFL player. You're going to have to be a former player, which most guys don't know how to deal with. And even though I was prepared, it was still a shock to my system when it happened. And the GM and the head coach told me that, thank you for all you've done. You've been the best fullback in our program's history, but we're moving in a different direction. And I was like, all right, what direction is that? Where are we going? This way? I can go this way. We go this way? I can go that way. Whatever direction you're going, I can stay. And they didn't laugh. They didn't smile. They didn't crack a joke. And they just told me to get my stuff and get out. And so I got a black trash bag. I put my helmet, pads. In between meetings. So they want to make sure I was gone by time everyone got out of meetings. Because I was heading to meetings, and they're like, tap me on the shoulder. Hey, coach wants to talk to you. Now, I'm a year 10. Like, I just went to the Pro Bowl last year. Like, I was with Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Matt Ryan were my quarterbacks, Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, Michael Turner were my tailbacks. Like, I'm playing with the best of the best because I was the best. You're not going to cut me. They cut me. They absolutely cut me. And as I was sitting in my car with all my belongings, like all the history that I've had from middle school to high school to college to the Baltimore Ravens, Atlanta Falcons, and like I just have a bag full of socks and cleats and helmets, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. Like this is what it's become. And if I didn't have a praying mother and a great support system, even though I was prepared for it, I thought I would have broke. I would have been broke, because the finality of it all didn't seem fair. And going back to your main point, like, because I was more than just an athlete, I was able to survive that. I was able to transition through that. I didn't, fully break down, because if I was just an athlete, if I was just an NFL player, they killed my career and I would have ceased to exist. So what do I do now if that's all I was? But I knew I could be so much more. And so there was life after football for me.
Well, and along those lines, you created some IP, right? You've got this graphic novel, Obasi, right? Obasi.
Yeah, so Obasi is the character. Obasi is my son, my only
Okay.
son. Thank you, Jesus. I love my daughters. I have a 17-year-old daughter, Olivia, a 13-year-old daughter, Nasia. That's my baby. And then I pray to God because my father came to America to grow the Mughelli name,
Mhm.
and he can't do that if I don't have a son. The hyphenations are cool, but you want a son to carry on the name. And he was like, I've delivered tens of thousands of babies. I want my son to have a son. And so I'm like, God, help me out. He gave me Obasi, who was the character in it, but the comic is called Gridiron Green. So
Yes.
Gridiron Green is something that I'm very passionate about because we talked a little bit before about the story. Story goes like this. I didn't care about the environment. I was not really aware about the environment, sustainability, tree huggers. That was like, all right, do your thing, whatever, not my thing. But my kids were born premature. 2 pounds is how much they weighed. They were in the NICU, and we couldn't leave the NICU because of the air quality in Atlanta at the time. And I just signed a contract, highest paid fullback in NFL history, and it was great money. I had fame, I had fortune, I had all this great stuff, but I couldn't give my kid the ability to take a breath of air. And so that bothered me. And so I had billionaire Arthur Blank and his team connect me to billionaire Ted Turner and his team. And Ted's daughter, Laura Turner Seidel, she was working with the Captain Planet Foundation. And I realized that, Ted and Laura, that Captain Planet comic book, that was their thing. And I used to love the Captain Planet comic book because the comic and the cartoon, because of the Black African character Kwame. I'm Nigerian, I'm African, he's African. And I was like, I connect to this. And Laura we were talking about how, it's important that you see yourself in whatever field you want to be involved in. And if more people of color saw themselves in the environmental space, it'd have a bigger impact, as well as the power of sports to promote sustainability. So I created a Black environmental sports superhero called Gridiron Green, and it was amazing. We worked with United Nations, UNICEF had their logo. Like I had the UNICEF logo on my first comic book, and we were at New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con. I was next to the Marvel Suite. I have a dope picture with the late Chadwick Boseman where he signed his Black Panther comic. I signed my Gridiron Green comic. I'm like, you can throw it away if you want to. It's not the same thing. I'm keeping this Black Panther comic, which got stolen an hour after I put it down on the table and started signing autographs, gone like that. But the comic book is something that a lot of people don't know about me. I'm a big kid. I love cartoon comics, but I love stories. I love origin stories. And for your business leaders, they all have an origin story on how they got to where they got to, where they're going now. And, main character syndrome is okay if you're the main character, because if you don't believe that you're the hero in your own story, then no one else will.
Such a great point. And that leads me to, the next thing that we were talking about pre-show, which is having to let the world know what your value is. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to you when you spoke in Atlanta, and you were talking about this position called fullback. I played fullback as well, and I played tailback. I played middle linebacker. Like I was all over the place.
Tough guy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I love to hit people. So
that's part of the job description.
That's a part of the job description. And it was interesting to hear you, because I remember when they moved me from tailback to fullback, I was like, no, you said the exact same, the feeling that I had when they moved me from tailback to fullback. I'm like, no, I'm the flash guy. Like I'm the fast one.
I'm the show, baby. They come to see me.
The show.
They come to see Ovie.
Talk a little bit about that also, but also because the rest of the world, right? When we feel that way, there's a kind of a reason. It's not the showboat position.
Yeah.
But it is a massively important position for a team to win, or to be, to be able to run an effective offense. Right. And so talk a little bit about, the step into that role psychologically, how that was for you, and then how that led to you being the highest paid fullback, because it's a great story. And it goes from what you said before. You got to you've got to have a brand. You got to have something that's out there working. And if nobody knows about that brand, you're going to be the richest person in your own home, I guess.
In your mind. In your mind. No,
Exactly.
it was a amazing journey that I still look back to this day. And I've gotten to the point where I've let myself stop saying, it's nothing and it's no big deal. And just, all shucks. And,
Yeah.
I'm not extremely boastful, but I'm proud of what I accomplished. And what I accomplished, was significant and something that came as a product of a lot of the hard work. I never thought I'd make it to the NFL, much less be the highest paid at my position. Like you mentioned, I don't want to be fullback. I want to be a tailback because I was that in high school. But in college, it's like, hey, you're the fifth string tailback. Either you go to fullback or you go to linebacker, but we're never going to get down to you. Like, you're not the type of tailback we want. I was more of an Eddie George, Derrick Henry, stand up tall and run 230, 6'2", big guy, and they wanted a scat back. Scat back, I was not. So I got into fullback, did well enough to where I was all ACC, all American. USA Today had me as number one fullback going to the draft. But then I get drafted to the Baltimore Ravens that had the number one defense in the NFL. They had just won the Super Bowl in 2002. It was the best and worst thing for me because going up against Ray Lewis and, Peter Boulware and Ed Hartwell, Bart Scott, like all these Pro Bowlers, Hall of Famers, like Tony Saragusa, like they had all the big bad guys, even my own draft class, Terrell Suggs, who ended up being the Ring of Honor guy. They're all monsters. They're little big
monsters, beasts.
And I had to either be the best at my position ever or quit. Like, because I was going up against Titans and I got my head knocked around so often. But, mama didn't raise a fool. And she put in me, my mom and my dad, to where I just don't quit. There's a great Netflix show. I watched it, like War Machine with Alan Richter, even though he's getting some trouble. But he had a tattoo, DFQ, don't freaking quit. It didn't say freaking, but it said, don't freaking quit. And I was just like, that's dope because I've had that in my mind, tattooed in my mental, like don't freaking quit. And iron sharpens iron. But when you go up against a Hall of Famer every day, twice a day, you either get really good or you quit. And I became the best in free agency. And the Giants, the Bucks, and the Falcons are all fighting for me. And the Falcons said, we'll do 6 years, $18 million to make you the highest paid fullback in NFL history. When I got that phone call, dude, it was life-changing. I still remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly, who was around me. I remember exactly the fact that I'm like, this is a prank call. Thought like Shedeur Sanders got prank called by one of the Falcons defensive coordinator's sons. I thought somebody was prank calling me. I was like, this is my brother? Who is this? But it was real. And in doing that, I tell people, it wasn't just my performance. It was my performance and also the fact that I made sure that I stood up tall. I made sure that I want people to see me. I made sure everything around me, I knew it was a contract year, also spoke to who I was. It all pointed back at me as far as like the work I did in the community, the work I did on behalf of the team, the work I did as a spokesperson or a brand ambassador, and the things I didn't do, staying out of troubles. There's no Googling me and finding a DUI. There's no me, beating on my girlfriend. There's no, I wanted to make sure that I gave people the perfect vision of what they wanted a fullback to be. And I'm like, too bad NFL players don't act like contract years every year. Too bad businesses don't act like the year they want to sell their company, they want to get everything in order. Every year isn't the year to sell your company. Every year shouldn't be the year to where I got to make sure things are in place. And then, the highest paid fullback was great, but that it ate away at me because I'd yet to go to my first Pro Bowl. So it wasn't until 2010, 2011 where I got my first Pro Bowl to where people would say, yeah, you're the highest paid, but are you the best? And I should have gotten awarded to the Pro Bowl multiple years because we were number 2 rushing attack in the country year one with Michael Turner and Matt Ryan, and we were doing our thing. But I had to campaign for the fans, the other NFL players, the linebackers and defense, as well as the media to let them know, hey, I'm great, but I need you to know I'm great. And thanks for the contract, thanks for the money. I've been doing it, but the camera doesn't follow the football. The camera only follows the football. It doesn't follow the people who make the plays happen. So I'm helping Matt Ryan and Michael Turner stay on their feet or open holes, and no one knows. People are falling into action. The action's over here. So I had a PR team, a marketing team, and that helped people just realize that, hey, before that play happened, that big 80-yard run, guess who broke them open? Ovie. And so they booked me more media. I did more ESPN. After the game, I'm tired. I don't want to talk. And I wanted to do what I usually do, take a shower, hop in my car, go home. I'm staying around. I told the head of comms for the Falcons, hey, I'm open for interviews. So I started taking more interviews, started doing more conversations. And then people started like, oh, you know what? Dang, the Falcons are good. Then the running game is fire. That's that fullback. It's the fullback doing more of that. And thank God, my old Ravens coach, Brian Billick, was the announcer for many of my biggest games. And he went, it was like he knew what the assignment was. He would start talking about me during my Pro Bowl year when I was with the Falcons. And even though he was my Ravens coach, he was like, yeah, that's my guy, Ovie Mughelli. He was doing that for Jamal Lewis back in the day. Now look at him, opening holes for Michael Turner. So, moral of that story is, as a business owner, even if I know some you are more behind the scenes, more behind the camera, not trying to be out in front, you still need to make sure either you or somebody lets everybody know the great work you do, because as you mentioned at the beginning of your talk, doing great work and having nobody know about it doesn't mean it's going to be recognized the way it should be.
Yeah. It's yelling into the void. And, and so that advances you forward. Obviously you've been a man who has planned and executed and, had massive competency in everything that you've put your hand to. And the thing that I think you and I bond the most over is that we both hate bullies.
Yeah.
And I like, you do a lot of work for kids and you do a lot of work for hospitals and I love your heart of service. And you are such a great spokesman, for the NFL in that way. And for the sport in general, when, like you said, you have people all over the news, for doing things that are less than honorable, you stand tall above those people. That's number one, but then also your chosen profession, which has brought us together in the world of commerce, is a form of you fighting back. Built to Exit, it's a form of me fighting back against bullies, right?
Love it.
Let's talk a little bit about what you've chosen to do, for small and mid-sized business owners, and how that is you standing up yet once again for people that may be vulnerable or may need some help.
Yeah, I think, and this is interesting because I come from a healthcare background, because my father and sister are both doctors. My other sister works in the healthcare space, and I always wanted to be a doctor. I say this, with just frankness. The healthcare system is a corrupt system, and it's a broken system. I think most doctors, the healthcare administrators, will say that the health system is broken, and that's unfortunate, because the people who are affected the most by a broken system are the ones who have to pay the bills and who are living check to check and who are blue collar workers and who are waitresses. And they can't afford medications. They can't afford to even have policies. When I work as a benefits consultant, and we basically bring best in class solutions to business owners, small, medium, to help them put together a game plan, if you will, to use football terms, like a playbook of what's a benefit strategy that's going to get you to the Super Bowl. Like if someone would have given me, I played for 10 years, with the playoffs 5 times. I lost every single playoff game I played in. Like I'm 0-5. Like never, oh my gosh, we're 2 more games to the Super Bowl or 3 more games to the Super Bowl. No, I got to the playoffs, got that one playoff bonus check, like 15, 20,000. It was great. And then I'm done. And I'm already counting like, oh, we're going to win this game and this game, playoff bonus, this playoff bonus, and I can get this car. And no, we lost every time. If someone would have given me a playbook and said, if you follow this, Ovie, if you and your team follow this, you will go to the Super Bowl, I guarantee you every single player would have followed that playbook to a T. Amen. And I tell every business owner I talk to, I have a playbook that if you follow this, you will have the highest recruitment level and the highest retention level you've ever seen in your life. And you will go to the Super Bowl for businesses, meaning that you're going to have more money, you're going to have more sales, you're going to have a higher ROI, because most businesses are built on your people. Like you can only go as far as your people can go. And if you have better benefits, you have better people. So if my playbook gets you the Super Bowl, I follow that playbook, especially if I got 18 people and more than that can say, I follow the playbook, we hit the Super Bowl. Like, and I won't tell you who this is, but I just had a chance to talk to a client and we ran their numbers, and this is real. I'll show this to you offline. We got their information, and it took a while to get their information because, unfortunately, some people, bullies, they care more about making sure their friends are happy and their friends are in place and their frat brother as a broker or their wife's cousin or the chairman of the board's nephew, rather than doing the right thing for their company. And this was a situation where it took a while to get the numbers back. And once we got the numbers back, over $7 million we were able to save just by looking at their PBM spend. That's the pharmacy benefit manager spend, which is where a lot of the overcharging occurs. It was a one-page document that we had, and we just needed them to fill out the one-page document. It took 9 months to get it. And so I tell people, if you are serious about doing the right by your employees, follow the playbook. And the playbook is all about making sure we audit everything you're currently doing. We give you all of the real raw numbers, and you can do what's in your best interest. Because I don't want you to do it because of me. I don't want you to do it because you like football, you like the Falcons or the Ravens, or you think I'm a nice guy. I want you to do it because it's the best thing for you and your employees. And every time we come to the table with everything we offer, from voluntary, supplemental, group health, wellness, earned wage access, all these different tools that we can pull out the toolbox to help you guys out, they're going to be best in class and they're going to help you win, which at the end of the day, I feel like it's the most important thing.
It is. Super Bowl for a business owner is A, optimizing cash flow while you own the business.
Yep.
And B, having the highest level of liquidation you can at sale. And everything Ovie just talked about right now adds to the valuation, right? And the valuation is how you get paid at the end of the day. You take great care of your employees, right? We talk about, okay, there's 80 boxes to go from where you are to a $200 million sale, right? And what Ovie's talking about is, here's like 8 boxes. And those 8 boxes, by the way, knock over a whole bunch of cultural issues in your business. They knock over having the highest level of talent working for you instead of your competition. You know what I mean? It knocks over a whole bunch of those. And so that's where it was a natural fit for us, because that's who we represent. We're literally wrote the playbook for how to optimize and get the most money that you can at exit. And this is part of the process, making sure that you've got the best. So when somebody comes in to buy the business, they're looking to buy certainty. And if your people are locked in, best benefits, they're getting treated better than everybody, like that is a level of certainty that people that are out there buying businesses right now are willing to pay a premium for, right? And that is our playbook. Sell for a premium. Control 3 things. And this was the general sense. I was laughing after I got done doing all my research on Ovie. And I was laughing because his entire existence has been what we talk about in Built to Exit is the buyer of your business. Traditionally in this world, they control price, timing, and terms. In other words, you don't have much control. You have the illusion of control, right? And so as I was going through this, and our whole goal is to get price, timing, and terms back to the owner of the business. And as I was researching all the stuff about Ovie, I go, all he's done is control price, timing, and terms in his own life, for himself, for his family, for his team, for his position. All this man has ever done is control price, timing, and terms. Obviously, great parents, right? Obviously, great upbringing. Obviously, great mentors and people and leadership in your life. But there's still a decision on your part that was necessary for you to be able to go through the steps to be great, and it wasn't just handed to you. So I love that you've done that your entire career. I love that that's what you're doing with your career now. We've looked at all the stuff. That's why we decided Built to Exit, that Ovie's our guy, because he's going to take the best care. Our brand is 100% built on trust, right? Yeah. People trust us, period, end of sentence. And we do not do anything or bring anybody to the table that's ever going to break that trust. So welcome to our family, Ovie. It's been a wonderful time. I know you and I are going to be sharing stages shortly and in the future. But I've really appreciated you being on the show. I've appreciated our friendship as it's grown. Any parting shots that you'd like to leave the audience with?
No, I'd like to leave the audience with just this. I feel like you're blessed to be a blessing. I've been on several boards and been blessed to work with amazing nonprofits and charities and foundations. I know that everyone is busy and time is something you can't get back, but using that time to give back to people who do not have the opportunity that you have is so important. Now, I know, Jason, you do it. I make sure my kids do it all the time. Just to talk about how important opportunity is. I spoke about Wake Forest and the Hall of Fame that I got into. It's great, but the biggest part about Wake Forest is that they gave me what no one else wanted to give me, which was an opportunity. I had a bad knee injury my junior year of high school, tore my ACL, had to brace my whole senior year. I went to a small private school league called Skeeza, and no one thought I was good enough to play at the Division I level. I got Citadel offers, Wofford, Oberlin, some smaller schools, but I wanted to play D1, or I wasn't going to play. I was just going to, go to school and be a doctor. I didn't want to, be at a lower tier program. Duke said no, Clemson said no, USC said no. Jim Caldwell and Wake Forest is the only group that said yes. And I told him I would be the absolute best player in your school's history if you give me a chance to show you what I can do. He said yes, and he's like, don't tell me, show me. I was all ACC. I was all American. I was number one by USA Today going to the draft, and eventually last year I was Hall of Fame. So there are people out there that could be the best partners, the best clients, the best future workers for you, but you got to give them opportunity. So I assume somebody at some point in your career gave you an opportunity. Make sure you pay it forward and do the same to somebody else.
I love that. That's a great way to end the show. And how do people get a hold of you? Because now they know you got the old Sisneros blessing. So
yeah, hey, if you want to email me, we'll set up a time to talk. It's Ovie at ono-consulting.com. That's OVIE at ono-consulting.com. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help you on the benefits side. It's really simple. We have a tool bag that we can bring out. It just depends on what's best for you and for your situation.
Make sure you mention B2X or the other bald Avenger over here, the one with the not as good tan, right? And let him know that you're going. I know we had some conversations. He's got some special things in his bag for those of you that are B2X family. So thank you, my man. I appreciate it. Probably April, I think I'm going to be seeing you. And then we'll be talking a bunch over the next few weeks. But thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for who you are and how you show up in the world for the rest of us to have somebody to look up to and to follow. Thanks for everything that you're doing, brother. Appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks for the opportunity to be on your show, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Awesome. All right. Well, great show. Another fantastic freaking show. What a gentleman. What a testament to what can be done, especially in our world. We are always constantly being underestimated in life. And Ovie's story is one of those stories that can show you, go ahead, underestimate me. Go ahead, underestimate what I'm capable of, what I can do in my life. Go ahead, right? We as business owners take on a daunting choice to play a game that 95% of the people fail at. 95%. That means 5% succeed. Of that 5% that succeed, 100% of those businesses that go out for sale, only 7% of them ever sell. And of the 7% that sell, 3.5% of those fail post-close. Which means if you're playing to be in the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl of business, having an entity that somebody actually pays you for and you get all that money and you're able to go ahead and take care of your family and go on to whatever's next for you. Business owners don't stop. They just go to what's next. But for you to be able to get that, you've got to follow a playbook that works. We have that here at Built to Exit. Ovie is a part of that. We have an unbelievable team of people put together to help you walk that journey. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the show. I really appreciate all the attention, the sharing, the conversations that this is driving. God bless you all, and we'll see you at the next episode. Peace.